Hello.
Hello.
Why is that funny?
It's just the way you say it is funny. It's like, are you saying hello to a person or like a robot?
I'm saying hello to you, which I don't know which one of the two you are, but it's a hello nonetheless.
Both. I'm an android.
Um, Hi everyone. Welcome to Scary Talk episode 39. We do keep count, believe it or not. Our 39th episode. Wow, how fantastic. How are you, Shannon?
I'm okay. I ate some food and now I feel all warm, and that's all I want, is to just crawl into a bed and light myself on fire?
Yep, I can totally relate.
Good.
um, uh, this is the second episode we've done in October. The spook factor is only increased from last week's episode, so we're really gonna try and get into that spooky feel this time, like even more so, and then we'll see what happens even next week. Um, I am loving October so far. I love the decorations at my house. I love the weather. I love like thinking of costume ideas for the 31st. Shannon, how are you enjoying your October so far?
I'm good. I saw Alien today for the second time. It's the
Oh.
40th anniversary. And it was like extra scary on a big screen because like I was like, "Oh my God." I don't know why it hit me so much more on a big screen, but it did. And they got me with some jump scares, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. Sigourney Weaver is old. Also iconic.
Oh my
um,
God. She is iconic.
um, okay. So, yeah. Happy October, everyone. I hope you enjoy the Spook Fest, the Spook Month, the Spook Feel. It's great. I love it. Only comes once a year. Enjoy it. Anyway, today we're talking about, well, today we're talking about something really spooky. Today we're talking about internet mysteries. Really about one internet mystery. A singular, extensive topic that Shannon and I decided to both cover so we could give you guys as much insight as possible. At least that's the version we're going to give you. Um,
We all know the real version. It's that we didn't communicate properly.
and we both ended up picking the same fucking topic, which has never happened before, that not that I'm aware of or that I can recall. So this is kind of funny because we never think it'll happen, and then it happened. So we are talking about the same thing, but it's okay. It really is an extensive topic, and I really think that we can cover an hour with just this because there's so much information. So we're gonna get into it today. We are talking about Lake City Quiet Pills. So again, very big, very extensive. Surprisingly, though, I actually had never heard of this before. Well, before a couple of days ago when I did the research. What about you?
Yeah, same. I discovered it before you. I'm sure of it. Just kidding. Um, but yeah, it actually kept popping up in my YouTube recommendations, and I was like, "What is this? I don't want anything to do with this." And then finally, I was like, "Fine, I'll look at it." And then I
Oh my
was just
god!
like
Did
hooked.
you watch the video by Barely Sociable? Is that what?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that too, like when it came out. So we might have found this like at the same time.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
okay. So, um, uh, thank you, YouTube user Barely Social, for introducing this to us. To this topic. Clearly, this is where we got this from. So, and then
Yeah.
and then we found some information online. I got this really insightful article from Unresolved podcast. Um, that's what I'm gonna be drawing my stuff from. Just wanted to like put it out from the get go. Anyway, Lake City Quiet Pills. So I guess I'll get started. So let's give some background. In okay, how do I? Okay, so Reddit is a website. When I tell you guys that this is extensive, it is extensive. So that's why, like, I'm trying to figure out where the best place to start would be. So, um, Reddit is a thing. There's people on it. There used to be a person on it, and their username was Religion of Peace. I think that's a good place to start. So, this was back in, well, I mean, this user was on that website for years. However, to give to give kind of a quick background, we'll kind of untangle this later. In 2009, this Reddit user, his name is Milo, from what we can gather, he passes away. All right. This guy, his username is Religion of Peace. He was a moderator for a porn subreddit, basically. It was called Jailbait. It was for like as close like as you can get to child porn, basically, without breaking any laws. He was a moderator for that. He was apparently like an old man, at least he claimed to be so, like late 70s, and he also loved talking about like military technology and like military strategy. That was his thing. He claimed to have been in the military for a long time. And in 2009, one day, this guy, Milo, Religion of Peace, he dies. He passes
I
away.
mean, as far as we know, he died.
I mean, well, that's what we're gonna get into. I'm really trying to paint like the simplest picture I can right now, so when we get into the nitty gritty, like people at least know what the fuck we're talking about. So, like in a nutshell, this is a person. This is what they did. They were a prolific user of one subreddit, since they were the mod of it. They were the moderator of it, and they also love talking about military strategy and military just stuff in general. They were an old man. In 2009, they seemingly pass away, and someone who claims to be a friend of this person, of this Milo character, this person, creates an account on Reddit. Like it was literally created like basically that same week that this person passed away. Matter of fact, that same day, seemingly only to make this announcement. So that's literally what they created it for. That this account by this friend was created for so they could say Milo passed away, everyone. I guess they were saying this to like the Jailbait subreddit, since he was the mod of that. Not clear on that. But anyway, he said that he had passed. People on Reddit seemed to know him, and so the post got upvoted a bunch, at least in his community. And that's that. But then the real mystery kind of takes off. Over the next year or so, a lot of curious Redditors began to search throughout the history of both user's Religion of Peace and his friend, whose username I forgot to mention. The username is 2-6. So they began to search through the history of both of these users. And they found some strange links to a bizarre website named Lake City Quiet Pills. And Shannon, you want to take it from here?
Sure. So I kind of love that, like, since like the beginning of Reddit, people on Reddit have been like trying to solve mysteries or whatever, like that's just the beauty of the internet, which is kind of iconic. So I kind of want to like take it a little further back, just a little bit, but we're going to stay on that same track. So I want to say the user 2-6, which is an actual 2 and then a dash and 6, really generic username. The Reddit people actually found a connection through him as well before linking it to the Lake City Quiet Pills. So we know for a fact that these two people, if they are two separate people, are related in some way, shape, or form, because they found a similar username. And this, you can take that with a grain of salt, but they found a username Angel2-6 on a website called Fark. This was kind of like Reddit. And the person had kind of been on there since 2001.
It was like an old Reddit back in the day, like a precursor to Reddit, basically.
Yeah. And basically Redditors found this other user on this other website, and they saw that the email address attached to that website was angel.2.6 at lakecityquietpills.com. And so already we have this weird connection of like, you had to dig a little deep for it, but you can see that they somehow knew each other or were somehow related to this website. And that person also on Fark had been talking about rifles and guns and all this weird stuff. And I don't know if you already brought it up, but I feel like this is a pretty, well, I guess you haven't, but it's a pretty weird part of this that's worth mentioning. Religion of Peace and Angel2-6 had the slogan "Dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to Lousy Bastards in need of Permanent Rest" since 1968 as like the signature on their comments a lot. So yeah, that's just creepy and weird, and it'll kind of make sense when we actually get into the crux of what this mystery is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so now we're gonna wind back and we're gonna talk about the actual website. So, like you said, it was like a gross porn website where people who like where basically pedophiles would go to look for girls who looked underage. I don't know for a fact
Whoa,
whether or
wait. I
not
was
they
talking.
were,
I was
but
talking about the jailbait subreddit that Milo, aka Religion of Peace, moderated while he was still alive. Um, but yes, the Lake City Quiet Pills website, a different entity, was an image hosting website and also was mostly porn. Yes, continue.
yes. So it was mostly used for porn, which is why anyone who would go onto it, and I'm sure just assuming this about the world, there would be a lot of people on that website. There would be a lot of traffic occurring there. And so it's not something that, like, you would immediately be like, oh, there's something sketchier going on here, because that's already sketchy as fuck. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so I don't know. And I think part of that is pretty intelligent in a way, in like a what's the word? Diabolical way. It's like you already know people are going to be here, like thousands of people, because people are gross. So it's a good place to hide in plain sight. So basically, here's this motto, here's these image hosting things, and then the Redditors kind of began to look inside or behind the website at the code. And that's where it was like a lot different than what it was like proposed to be. Like, so first in the code was that motto, dispensing Lake
Mm-hmm.
City quiet pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest. And there was a lot of weird names and acronyms just thrown about in there. Statements in the code that looked like it was like for jobs, listing requirements. Just random things that didn't really make sense. So, like, one says, need formed group 8 to 10, single op, delivery bonus, stuff like that. There's another one that says, immediate need 8 to 10, Chinese slash Korean, fluent Korean, dialect, accent details after contact, 12-week half pay. And so,
Oh, a
obviously,
good one that I saw was what was it? Need form group 8 to 10, single op, delivery bonus, quote unquote, gentleman's agreement, insurance, immediate need. Like these things clearly communicate. I mean, just to say it, they clearly communicate mercenary work to me at least. And this is kind of where we're getting more into what this is actually about. So everyone get ready. Go ahead.
well, yeah, and it's it's weird because like if people are communicating that way using this website like in the background, it's like one, how, and two, like they seem to get away with it for a very long time because this like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear about this until like just now, and we're talking about 2009, and then even before that. So Redditors kind of were like, okay, this is obviously some sort of black ops hitman shit going on here. So let's just poke the bear. Like, why not? And so people actually researched and found out that there was something called the Lake City Ammunition Plant. And it was in the same general area. I think it was an hour away from where the user Religion of Peace was supposed to have lived. And so that's an hour away, but there's no way to connect that factory or whatever to it specifically, but it's something. It's like a lead. And then if you look at a
I
comment
mean,
made by
but like there is kind of a way to connect it, right? Like this factory basically manufactured ammunition, and it
uh-huh.
was oh my god, I need to find the city. I'll find it in a second. But basically, it was in the same general area where either Religion of Peace or 2-6 were believed to live, to reside, and that's where the Redditors make the connection, basically, like, oh, okay, well, duh, the factory was in Lake City. That's what it is. The factory was in Lake City, in Michigan or Missouri. It's one of the two. Oh my god, I have to find my notes. But anyway,
I
there
think
was
it
this
was
factory,
Missouri.
and it was Missouri. Okay, so it was in the Midwest, and it was in the same general vicinity where the two Redditors, or at least one of the two, were believed to reside. And the fact that they used this motto, like the fact that, for example, like Milo used this motto in some of his Reddit posts, first connected him to the existence of this Lake City Quiet Pills website. And then when people still found that same motto in the hidden HTML messages of this website's code, we're like, okay, so clearly this is the same person as in Reddit. And then they find the existence of this factory, and it's in Lake City, and it produces bullets. And then you reread, at least I reread that signature, and I'm like, well, obviously it means that this person has been killing people since 1960 whatever, like delivering Lake City Quiet Pills, meaning bullets from the Lake City factory, to bastards in need of permanent rest, meaning death. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the theory that we're going with at this point. And then obviously we find out that he's supposedly dead. There is more
Supposedly.
information. Yeah, I don't know, because there was like this other thing of like no one could really confirm or deny his age. Like he had claimed to be in his 80s, but realistically he was probably in his 70s, which I guess that doesn't really matter. Like everyone lies about their age, but like there's some things about it that are a little bit weird. Anyway, so after Angel26, or I guess 26 on Reddit posted about Milo dying, he had some other posts that were basically like, Milo, what did he say? He says, Milo's will cleared, probate, surprise, Milo was loaded, email Shade if we sent you out in 2005 to 2009. Shade will have checks cut for you. Amount is by how many times, not by pay total. Small share is 3 to 4,000. And so what we're kind of thinking here is that he kind of said that the guy was leaving money for people, but the how many times, not by pay total, is kind of like, does that like mean like how many people you've killed? Like what does that mean? Like is this bonuses?
Well, how many?
Like,
it seems to me like how many ops that person was sent out for. Okay, here's the thing.
okay.
I feel like we're getting like really ahead of ourselves. Like people are probably like their heads are spinning. Like what the fuck is going on? So like basically, but we're gonna get into some more stuff in a minute as to really why this is a big deal and why this matters at all, and how will this theory even make sense. Like what proof do we have for it? But like so far where we are, everyone, hello, is that there were these two shady ass Reddit users that were connected to this shady ass website that had some shady ass messages within its HTML code that talked about seemingly wet work, aka assassin work, aka mercenary work. And people were like, okay, whatever. Why does that matter? There's no actual connection to the real world. We can't find any instances of these people having actually ever operated or killed anyone. Well, that's what we're gonna get to. Anyway, go ahead.
well, also, I just to like interject with that, but like, isn't that the main goal of being a mercenary? Is for you not to know that anyone was murdered? Like, in some instances,
I
like
mean,
it's obviously a murder, but
yes, that is true, but it makes for a very shitty internet mystery if that's where your leads end, right? With just some spooky, like, coded messages.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so
But anyway, we're talking about the kind of the will that the guy left behind, the money.
yeah. So he left the money, and so in theory, if you were one of those people that were somehow a part of this, you would have found out through this message, like, hey, I might have some money. Who even knows, though? Like, it seems like I don't know. I guess in theory that's possible. So 26 returns, and he says, Happy New Year, everyone. We're having a birthday party for the old man on the 19th. Party starts at 1500 at the usual. Send your RSVP to Shade. FYI, we're booking a room for 3 days for anyone coming out of the area and overnight for locals. Come hoist one for Dutch Milo. And that was it. That's all he posted. And I'm fairly certain that's the
Hmm.
last thing he posted. And this was in 2010, in
A couple
January.
of months before that, I should interject. In September 2009, the same guy, 26, Angel, he had same posted in the same website. For those who have asked, I bricked Milo's iron key the same day. All is well. That's the whole message. This is actually like a pretty clear message. An iron key is basically like an encrypted USB drive. And if you break it, that means that you are like you're rendering it useless, basically. Um, that to me adds another piece to the puzzle of like, well, clearly some shady shit was going on here, and I none of this feels to me like a host or like an ARG or like just because like what are the odds that people would have found the hidden HTML code in this weird ass random website that they would have made the connection between the original Reddit post and this website. You know what I'm saying? That's just. I mean, just like to put that out now, that's why this to me doesn't feel like a hoax. So don't even bother asking me at the end of this because I'm going to tell you this to me feels real. Anyway, that's something else that the guy said. Clearly, this guy, Milo, had this drive with a bunch of incriminating evidence. Sounds to me like it. And once he died, his good friend, Angel, took care of it by rendering it useless. So, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. You go ahead. It's your turn.
That's right. I thought I interrupted. Okay, so here's the thing. So, right. We'll just call him Angel, right? 26, all the same. So Angel posts that message about the birthday party to whoever's watching this, I guess. Which at this time, no one had. This was all happening like under the, like this hadn't been uncovered until none of this was uncovered until after the fact, mind you, all of this. So if all these communications were taking place in 2009, like none of this started being uncovered until a couple years later. So keep that in mind. Anyway, he says we're having a birthday party for the old man. All right, thanks, great. The post to me, I'm like, it seems rather innocuous, just out of context. It's like, oh, we're throwing a birthday bash for someone to celebrate their life, blah blah blah. Like that's all right. But then we get into the meat of this mystery. So why the fuck does any of this matter? Let's get a little political, shall we? So there's this guy. His name is Mahmoud al-Mahbou, and he was born in a refugee camp along the Gaza Strip in 1960. Long story short, this guy had been in and out of prison by the mid 80s, and he began to associate with Hamas. For those of you who do not know what that is and did not take political science in college, high degree. The Hamas is an organization that petitions for the creation of the Palestinian state. I'm sure you guys must have heard about the Gaza Strip conflict. This is basically related to that. This guy is on the Palestinian side, and he integrated himself into this group of people, Hamas, that advocates for that side. That's basically the simplest explanation. Many consider it a terrorist organization. This will come into play later. However, not everyone thinks of Hamas that way. Anyway, over the next 2.5 decades, so what, to now, basically, like the early 2000s, this guy, al-Mahbou, earned a reputation in Hamas. In particular, he claimed credit for the 1989 killing of 2 Israeli soldiers. Again, this is important and it comes into play later. Uh, in addition to spending time in Egypt, I believe, he went to prison there, and also becoming a wanted, like a person of interest by Jordan, as in the country of Jordan. This guy continued to rise up the ranks of Hamas in Palestine, and now by the mid 2000s, which is where like a lot of this Lake City Quiet Pill stuff really takes place in, like last decade basically. He was playing a vital role in like rising Iran's revolutionary army. I know this is complicated, but like long story short, the guy was, one, killing people, and two, trying to instigate more violence within the Gaza Strip conflict. So a lot of people didn't like him, especially a lot of people on the other side. All right, moving on. Towards the end of the early 2000s, this guy had become the target of multiple assassination attempts, and it is reasonable to speculate that a lot of these assassination attempts had been orchestrated by people that were on the other side of the conflict, reasonably so, the Israeli side of the conflict, which a lot of people speculate, obviously, Lake City Quiet Pills, if they were indeed mercenaries, were obviously on that side of the conflict. Now, whether or not they had personal investment in it is unclear. I doubt it. It seems to me that they were simply hired to do this work by someone who actually had interest in the conflict. I doubt that. You know what I mean? I don't know that
Yeah.
assassins are very geopolitically inclined. Oh, I care about the Gaza. I don't think so, but whatever. So anyway, uh, let's try to bring this back a little. So on January 19th of 2010, this guy, Al Mabhou, arrives in Dubai. What happens? The guy is flying alone. He's flying under a fake name and with no security guards. So clearly, he did not want to be noticed while in Dubai. Earlier that day of January 19th, 2010, keep this date in mind, his trip had been preceded by a small network of men and women. Numbering around 24 in total, these individuals had arrived in Dubai using fake names and passports of their own and began coordinating their efforts to track the guy, to track Al Mabhou. What happens? The operation had at least 3 coordinators from what authorities know now, post the events. I'll specify what the events means in a second. And all of these coordinators are presumed to have been working under fake names. Again, remember what that birthday post said. Use travel names. I'll meet you at the hotel. What did it say? No DUIs. And what else did it say, Shannon?
Yeah. It said
Yeah, so
no DUIs.
Yeah, so
So
just start making connections in your head. Were you gonna say something?
no.
Okay, so anyway, it seems that these 3 men, these 3 coordinators, had been to Dubai at least 5 other times, seemingly to surveil the region, to do some recon work. So basically, the picture that I'm trying to paint here is, this guy, this Hamas guy, Al Mabhou, he went to Dubai, and it seems that at the same time, these group of at least 3 men arrived in Dubai using fake names, fake passports, and it appears authorities know these people had been to Dubai at least 5 other times in recent times to apparently surveil, to kind of get to know the area. So this is super duper fishy. What happens? So the guy, Al Mabhou, he enters his hotel that day. He is seen by security cameras entering, and then he stays for 20 to 30 minutes, and then if I recall this correctly, because I have too many notes, I can't look for this, but basically after that period of time, 25 to 30 minutes, they see this small group of men go into the same hallway that this guy had entered, and then there's, I think, another set of security cameras that saw the same men entering the same hallway where this guy's room was located in the hotel in Dubai. I guess there's no more security cameras that can detail exactly what room they entered, but the guy was found dead. So here, let me detail some more. So what happens? So they see the men in this hallway. Okay, nothing happens, and then 20 minutes later, the men are seen exiting and returning to their respective rooms. And then within moments after that, they begin to exit the hotel one by one, mind you, with all of their belongings with them. Then within 4 hours, and we know this because of flight records, all of these men have left Dubai entirely, with their flights taking them all across the globe. Frankfurt, Zurich, Rome, clearly they were spreading out so as to me this seems so James Bondy, you know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
is a smart operation to like distract. Basically, they're all going to different destinations. It's almost as if nothing happened after the murder. They leave the hotel immediately. It's done. That's it. So, um, the guy, Alma Poob, was obviously murdered by these people. He is not found until 12 hours later in his hotel room. And the most interesting thing is he was found, like his room was locked from the inside, number one. So there were no signs of forced entry. Number two, he didn't have any blunt trauma. He didn't have any cuts or wounds, any deep punctures, nothing like that. So the people were trying to make it seem like a natural death. And initially, authorities actually thought that until the body was sent for an autopsy, and then everyone was like, "Oh, never mind." Like it was found that the guy um, had been injected a muscle relaxant moments prior to his death, and then had been electrocuted. That didn't actually kill him though. So his actual death was via pillow. They suffocated him. And from the outside, I mean, if you were just suffocated by a pillow and there's no wounds on you, it seems like you just died. Obviously, that's not what happened. The guy was killed. Okay, so that's what happens. Um, I mean, let's just make the connection, shall we? Like, these people, the Lake City Quiet Pills website, like, people, will say, where they were, like, okay, the murder happened on the same date that these people were supposed to have Milo's birthday bash. And they were talking about using fake names. They were talking about all meeting up in a hotel. They were talking about how the telephones were not under secure lines. Like, why would you need to know that if you're actually literally going to just a birthday party? Um, it's so fishy to me.
Yeah.
um, yeah, thoughts.
Um, well, I guess I just wonder because I kind of believe it too. Like that's the thing. Like I don't see any reason that this would not be happening. And like it's not even that like I feel there's any strong proof because one coincidence doesn't necessarily mean that it's all true. Maybe if this kept happening or if we were able to find more, but we obviously can't, which we'll discuss later. But I do believe it just because it's too good of a coincidence. Like that's 24 people about that were at this hotel and did this and then separated. And it's just too weird. And I think I don't know. When we get closer to
Yeah.
the end, I can explain more why. But what do you think?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, and another thing you mentioned the 24 people. Just to clarify, when I was saying like the group of three men, I misspoke. I meant that there were at least three coordinators from what authorities were able to see, meaning the people that were actually like checking the rest of the people into the hotel, and the people who seemed to like operate the whole operation. Either because they found like bank records from them or like phone records of like they were the ones renting the I don't know like the vehicles or they were the ones like buying the contraband ammunition. Like these were the quote unquote coordinators of the operation. But there were a lot more people that actually like committed the crime. Yeah, upwards of
Yeah.
2 dozen. So, um, what do I think? I think I think that the internet found a very reliable and veritable connection between this murder and this creepy website, and it is kind of astounding. Like, I mean, I believe it. I do. There's a lot, right? Like, I mean, one, the fact that these people are assumed to have worked as mercenaries or be currently working as mercenaries. Also, please don't come for us. Slash assassins slash like this is what they do. Like, and it seems like this is what the website was devoted to. Truly, like it seems like the porn was just a facade. Like the fact that this is what they do is already like okay, that's a thing. And then the fact that these people who that's what they do for a living, they kill other people, are meeting all in a hotel, all under a false, like the false pretense of a birthday party seemingly, all knowing that they have to use fake travel names and fake passports and not use the phones, and it's all happening on the same date that this guy, this high profile person, was murdered. Like, I mean, if that's not a connection, I don't know what is. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think.
So the full message from after the like party invitation,
Hmm.
I'll read that because like we kind of talked about it, but I don't think we actually said the full length of it.
Hmm.
So Angel26 posted, "We got 38 rooms in the Marriott on 46. Shade has the key cards for locals. Pick up at the party. Give your travel name to the desk, and that's it. No ID needed since we're covering the bill. Keep the room service under 500. The phones there are not secure. Bus from the hotel leaves at 13:30. Car service vouchers for return trip when you're ready to crash. Don't DUI."
So this was
So,
sent. It was posted on that website before the murder of Al Mabhoob took place, and people thinking
yeah.
like, "Oh, this is how they planned it."
Yeah. And it's just really weird. Like that all of that is so weird. So they got 38 rooms. It's all paid for. Keep your room service under 500. And then another weird thing about it is that they they found like cards when they were investigating in Dubai. What were they called? They were called, oh, Payoneer cards. So they were prepaid credit cards that the people had used when they were there, the assassins, I guess you could say.
Mm.
The Payoneer came from the US. It was the CEO of Payoneer was supposedly had direct ties to Israeli intelligence. And so they think maybe he bankrolled it or something. I don't know. But the point is, the US, when asked to cooperate with the investigation, did not hand over the cardholder details of the Payoneer credit cards that were used by the assassins. So basically,
Oh my God,
yeah, in
Shannon, do you
refusing to
think
do
that?
that, they basically
Do you
hid the
like?
identities.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What? I just feel like because if they had just given them over, they would have revealed who they were. But because they didn't, it kind of makes me think about the fact that one, the Lake City Quiet Pills area is in the US. So it might be like someone higher up in the US who was a part of this, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I don't know.
Well,
I
I
don't know
mean,
what
if
that
you think
means.
like if you think that the Lake City Quiet Pill signature comes from the Lake City like ammo factory, then obviously it is in the U.S. And number two, like I did not know that information that you just. I guess that wasn't in my research. I did not know that. And like three, do you like legit think that the U.S. government like hired this like obscure group of mercenaries on the side of the Israeli government to conduct this murder? Because holy shit, like
I don't know if it was the
that's
government,
bigger
but
than.
maybe someone with an interest in controlling politics or interfering with what was going on already, you know? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the
Mm,
government. But anyone with enough power and resources and money to do so, why wouldn't they, you know? Like, I mean, I
wow.
guess, like, you just can. Like, if you're that rich, like, why not, you know?
Interesting. That's an interesting connection that I didn't know about. The rabbit hole goes even deeper than we thought.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and yeah, like speaking of rabbit hole, it really was a rabbit hole when like I was researching this stuff because boy, the number one there was a lot. Two, it was super creepy to go like down in because I was like, oh my god, like this is real. Like holy shit, like there's just like total like under like there's a probably a very big network of like underground shit that takes place like this all the time. Like I mean I'm sure
Yeah.
there is. Um it's just like how do you find it? And I guess this is just one instance where people were able to, and it's probably like one of those smaller networks if anything. Like because I mean, truth be told, like we do know that this stuff exists. Obviously, it's just that it's incredibly hard to find, and that's mostly because it never happens on like surface level internet, kind of like literal, like www dot websites that you can find, like the Lake City Quiet Post website. This kind of stuff usually happens in the dark web, like,
Yeah.
um, that yeah, like under the protection of basically like like VPNs that make it completely anonymous, like browsers that make it completely anonymous. Um,
Yeah.
so this stuff happens. It's just kind of surprising to people, I guess, that it happens. So like that they were able to find it on a seemingly innocuous website, and and that made it far easier for more people to search it because you don't have to download like Tor, for example. And I think this is why this blew up because people were like finding more and more connections. I mean, matter of fact, there's a Lake City Quiet Pills Reddit nowadays that is dedicated to the mystery, and it's updated pretty constantly. So this is like still kind of a big thing. People are still really interested in it. The last thing I saw on the subreddit that I thought was really interesting was someone was talking about, I guess Milo might have had an illegitimate daughter, and she's currently like spreading disinformation about the Lake City Quiet Place mystery as if to like send people off the trail. Like, it's really confusing. The point is that the subreddit is constantly updated, so people are still on this. And I think that's, if anything, the most impressive thing. The internet does
Yeah.
not give up on a good mystery. Um, so, okay, so back to 2010 though. So this assassination takes place. What happens afterwards? So after this, there was no visible activity on the website, on the LakeCityQuietPills.com website, for the next couple of weeks following the assassination of Alma Poob, at least non pertaining to this specific story. But then, roughly 2 weeks later, there's a post titled Party Bills that read as follows. Here's the final for the party: hotel rooms, 48,341; limo, 6,080; bus, 569; bar bill, 18,890. That's a lot of drinks. Food, 8,030; dancers, 8,300; miscellaneous tips, 850; miscellaneous expenses, 2,840; medical supplies, 180; and then in parentheses, Fat Tommy and Stu are okay too. Thank God Fat Tommy's okay. Total $94,080. You all did Dutch Milo proud. Thanks. I mean, that's one expensive birthday party. Okay,
Mhm.
like, listen. I mean, I guess most of it went into the hotel rooms. That makes sense, but like, bitch, this was no birthday party. Okay, whatever. Um, Okay, so what happens? This is posted, and then a couple of days later, like the usual job requests had that we had seen on this website, they come back, just like business as usual, basically. Things like 2 business class security, non-conus fluent French requested, or immediate need for Korean fluent Korean slash dialect slash accent details after contact, 6 week half pay, sequester on refusal, 6 month gig bonus. Like, job postings started coming up again. This continued until around the spring of 2010, which is around 2 months after the assassination of Mabhoob. That was when a couple of curious Redditors started like poking around the source code of the website and uncovered these messages. So now we go back to like, so now we're at real time, not actually 2019 real time, but real time as in this is when the mystery was actually uncovered in 2010, even though this website had been in operation for years. And that's where we start to talk, basically. In 2010 was when all of this was discovered. The source code of the website, like, people were started reading it. The website owner, probably Angel, like, noticed this, and soon after, people started like posting links about this stuff on Reddit and links to the website on Reddit. And almost as soon as this happened, the code for like City Quiet Pills was changed and encrypted. And shortly thereafter, the website was taken offline for good because people were still trying to decrypt it. Like, people are relentless. So the website was taken down, so you cannot see the website anymore today. Um, but yeah, but that'll happen. That's the story, basically. Very spooky, very creepy. Yeah.
Well, the fact that it was taken down, like it was shut down, I guess, you could say maybe it's because it was shut down because it was like a gross porn site, but also, like, the fact that you can't dive into this anymore speaks to me on the level of, like, well, they found out that these dumb Redditors were watching them, so they shut it down. Like, that's just the way my
Mm-hmm.
brain thinks, but that's also informed by what we already know. So I don't know, maybe it's not, but that just seems real sketch to me. It's like they finally realized someone was watching them?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, so something super interesting. Like, going back to something that you mentioned earlier about Milo's age and how he like potentially lied about it. I mean, he most definitely lied about it because just, I mean, we don't know his actual age, but like we do know that he lied just because a lot of his accounts of his time in the military just don't line up. To me, honestly, the biggest thing isn't even that. when I was first researching this, for me the biggest thing was like an 80-year-old knows how to use Reddit like fluently. Like I would be shocked. Like that really was what did it for me. I was like, I honestly doubt this person's that old. But like something that is a little more solid proof wise is so the guy, from what I understand, he claimed to have been born in 1930 and that he was 79 years old at the time of his death in 2009. However, in 2007, some people found a comment that he had posted that year that said that he was
Uh-huh.
70. So, yeah, like he says that he had been at the Battle of Normandy, that he like had first been drafted into the military when he was 14 years old, which I mean seems unlikely to me. I guess because like he looked older than his age and they never checked his papers, and so he got drafted at 14, and he was at the Battle of Normandy, and also was like fighting in Jerusalem in 1949. Like, okay, that's fine, but the math doesn't add up when you say you're 70 in 2007 and then you say you're 79 in 2009.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I don't think the guy was a literal like 20 something troll that was claiming to be an old guy. He probably was in his late 60s, maybe even early 70s, just based off all the military strategy knowledge that he seemed to have, because he posted about this stuff all the time. So he knew a lot of stuff like that. So he sounds like an old man. It's just we're not sure why he would lie about his age like that. Anyway, um, okay, so as if that wasn't enough, the language of this user's posts, religion of peace, were plugged into the website uclassify.com, which basically analyzes the age of someone's language. I visited it and it's super interesting actually. And what they found was the website hinted that this person was probably a way younger individual, someone in the age range of 36 to 50 years old. This is just from like the way they speak, like slang, etc., etc. I don't know how reliable the website is, but this just kind of adds more to the pile. You know what I mean? Like it just adds wood to the fire. So, paired with the knowledge that this user possessed of like very intricate computer terminology, which is like kind of what I was thinking about, it really doesn't seem to me that he was actually 79 years old. But whatever. Um, One last point I wanted to make that I thought was super interesting was, so the name Milo, right? What if that wasn't his actual name? What if that was a title of sorts, or like a rank or an acronym? The article that I found, that I read for this, mentions that they themselves discovered a white paper titled Intelligence and Peace Support Operations, which they took an excerpt from. This is on the article, and I'm going to read it. And it says the military intelligence liaison officer concept has existed for a long time in the UK. The aim is to have a group of trained intelligence officers available with a broad background who could be quickly deployed to any potential mission area to assist in the planning and preparation of any potential peacekeeping operation. There's a little bit more, but that's basically the gist of it. But listen to the first like sentence that I read, right? Military intelligence liaison officer, Milo. um, that's an acronym. So I don't know. Like I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I just thought that added a little bit more to the mysterious pile, and I thought it was interesting to bring up because, for all we know, that wasn't his real name, and there's even more layers to this that we're not aware of. So that's what I have. I don't know. Was this a weird scheme or a hoax? I don't think so, but I guess we don't know. Well, we'll never know. Unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, I just don't know. Maybe I'm just really lazy, but who would go through all this trouble if it was just gonna be like deleted and dissolved and no one was gonna take credit for this if it was a game or something, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes me think it's not a hoax. I mean, I agree.
Well, also because when I was like doing research into other stuff, like for mysteries, I watched this like 35-minute long video about this really interesting like mystery, and I was like, oh, this is a good topic, I should talk about this. And it literally ended by the guy proving that it was a hoax, saying that it was his college thesis, and I was like, what the fuck? Come on! Like that stuff just really pisses me off. Like if you're gonna do that, like at the beginning of your video, say this is a hoax. Like, come on.
Because then you become invested, and then you're shocked at the end where they're like, "Oh, actually, it's all
Yeah.
shit. It's all bullshit." Um,
I was so not happy about that.
that's funny. I also found that like the username 26 could be something similar. Like it could be like a term for something, like in British military culture. Um, there was like this Wikipedia page for like a term called 26 heave. It's basically like a navy operation where civilians work together. I thought that was kind of a stretch, but it's also a thing. Like we don't know. Like we don't know. Maybe like Angel 26's like Reddit username was a hint to that. Maybe like Milo's name was a nod to the Milo acronym. We don't know. But yeah. Okay, so I forgot to mention this is unresolved, but the actual assassination is also unresolved. Like I know that I mentioned that like authorities were able to figure out like a lot of like phone records and bank records and hotel security camera footage. Like they obtained all of that, but the actual like culprits for the assassination were never actually detained or found. Like again, they found like flight records that indicated that these people like flew all around the world, kind of to dissipate and leave no trail after the assassination, but they weren't actually found. So there's that. um, yeah. So I mean, and it appears to me that if we're connecting this to like City Quiet Pills, it makes sense. They weren't found because afterwards, like we read the website, someone posted on the website like, it was a success. Here are the bills for the party, and thank you all. Like Dutch Milo would be so proud. So you wouldn't say that if someone was caught. Matter of fact, like maybe someone was almost caught. Maybe two people were almost caught, Fat Tommy and Stu, but in the end they weren't. And maybe that's why they said, Fat Tommy and Stu are okay, by the way. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
And
lot.
yeah. And they got 38 rooms, so maybe there were more people involved than just 24, you know?
Yeah, I mean, totally, for sure. So, everyone, that's what we have for you today. I hope you liked it. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little, just because, like, even more so than something paranormal, just because, like, I mean, I don't, like, so many people have talked about this, like, we're not, like, Scary Talk is going to be targeted and shut down by, like, mercenaries because we talk, like, it's fine, but, like, it still creeps me out, like, the fact that this is a thing. And it is a thing, because even if, like, City Quiet Pills itself, this specific case, isn't real, like, we know this kind of work exists. Wet work, as
Yeah.
it's called. So, and it's, it's a thing. I mean, and it's in movies and everything, but, like, people forget that it is real and that sometimes it can have, like, very big implications. I mean, that's kind of fucking huge. Like, we're talking about the Gaza Strip conflict. Like, that's big, and I don't know. It's just, it's super interesting, like, exploring the connections. But,
Do you think
um,
do you think that mercenaries have a union?
to make sure they get, like, fair wages for their labor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna say no, but
Man, it's rough.
I know
Fight
it
for
is.
their
It's rough
rights.
work.
They're out there
Um,
risking their lives, you know?
they're out there risking their lives to kill people.
Yeah, but you don't know what
Oh,
those
by the
people
way,
have done.
I watched Gemini Man, and this is not a spoiler, but like Will Smith basically is like an assassin, and yeah, it just it reminded me of that. But like actually talking about the movie, it kind of sucks.
Yeah,
So
I bet.
yeah, everyone, yeah, maybe save your money. I don't know. Like, it's cool to see like young Will Smith. Like, you definitely get into the uncanny valley at some point stuff, because you can tell that like it's weird. Like, I feel like the segments of the movie that they knew they were gonna use for the trailer, like they put a lot of money into those CGI shots, but like the rest of them, maybe not so much. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Anyway, on that note, everyone, thank you for listening to us this week. If you have any topic suggestions for future episodes, please do let us know by DMing us at Talk Scary on Twitter. You can also find this website on all podcast listening platforms. Shannon, what are those podcast listening platforms?
We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and more.
Yeah, correct. um, any last thoughts?
No, I will say that don't bother watching Gemini Man. Just go watch Alien again. You will not be disappointed.
I might just do that if they're showing it at my local theater, because I don't think I've actually ever seen that like in full. Yeah, I know. I feel like I've seen parts. I've definitely seen Prometheus, which I'm not gonna say it's as good as Alien, but it's kind of like new generation Alien, and I love that movie. So I get the gist of the movie Alien. I still have to watch it though. Everyone, the Mothman is real. Try to not become the target for an assassination attempt, and Degina. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Goodbye.